here talking today. I've attended a few of these, so it's nice to be taking part. I need to share my screen first, that would help. Can you all see my slides okay?
Yep, that's great.
Perfect. Okay, so I have a million slides, sorry. But yeah, I've got a lot to cover, and if people could keep their questions to the end, that would be great. And if you think of anything even after that, just drop me an email.
Yep. I'll just say to everyone, if you could please put your questions in the chat, and then we'll address them at the end. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. So yeah, my name is Dr. Anya McDermott. I'm from Liverpool John Moores University, and I'll be talking today about deepfake forensics. So looking at the impact and implications of fabricated media in digital forensic investigations. So I'll be giving some definitions, some examples, and then we'll be looking at, as I said, the challenges for law enforcement. I'll touch upon some research I've been doing in relation to that, and then talking about some of the methods and challenges, and as I said, ongoing research. So for anyone who's not fully sure like what a deepfake is, I was going to say, where have you been? They're literally all people talk about these days. But according to the Oxford Dictionary, the online one, it says a deepfake is a video of a person in which their face or body has been digitally altered so that they appear to be someone else, typically used maliciously or to spread false information. And a quote using it in a sentence would be, the committee hearing on worldwide threats said that deepfakes is a growing concern. So yeah, they're literally talked about all the time. I thought it would be actually useful then to distinguish a bit further. So there's been maybe instances of things shared online by certain presidents or just, certain celebrities and people and stuff. And actually, I think sometimes people don't realize that you can actually distinguish, and they're slightly different things as well. So they can differ. Like a shallow fake basically is a not very good one. It's a bit obvious, someone's just used some editing tools. They've maybe, added some filters. They've made it look slightly different. A deep fake itself generally would be AI, deep learning, more realistic. But a lot of things and things that have been around for quite some time is synthetic media. So AI, machine learning and stuff used for like CGI, virtual reality, augmented reality and stuff. These types of sort of fakes or medias would be used more like in education or like in the creative arts side. And again, I think a lot of these terms could be sort of used interchangeably, but again, there's a deep fake. It's not a one size fits all thing. They literally differ. The intent, I'd say, would be the main thing. So for a lot of the synthetic media, they're for educational or practical uses. I think when people think of deep fakes, they're often to deceive or to be used in malicious means and maybe misinformation and stuff as well. So yeah. Kind of what I'm interested in, though, personally, is the sort of rise of this different type of media in terms of things that could be fabricated. I've used that that word quite a bit in some of my publications, where fabricated media or deepfake media basically is where someone's tried to take the media and manipulate it or change it to represent something else. So again, you're trying to deceive, mislead, or confuse someone with what you've done to it. The problem for this, though, is obviously it adds an extra layer of things that we need to do when we're trying to prove that something either is in fact fake or not. It erodes public trust, where we have like a generation of people where they generally just either blindly follow and believe everything they see online, or you've got younger ones who just say, "Oh, it's fake news." People don't trust what they see, or then again, they blindly trust it. It complicates the validation of evidence and challenges legal standards for admissibility. I have some examples of that later on, but basically, like in civil cases in courts, there's been people using media of like a spouse maybe saying things or being mean or doing certain activities when it's actually fake. And now there's places where you might not have thought, oh, we need a forensic analyst to actually verify that that thing is in fact true or fake, and it's just something else that we have to add. Another issue as well is that the tools and practices, they're not fully equipped to detect, classify, or process such data. Literally, we get inconsistent results. I've got many examples of deepfakes I've made myself, or ways I've manipulated media, and then you use different tools. It either says it gives you a green light, or it's red, or it says it's fake, but it doesn't say why. And again, the inconsistency is not helpful not understanding what it's telling you. Like sometimes it's saying, yes, it's fine, but it doesn't say that there's other things with it as well. So again, this is annoying. And then also the general backlog. I don't think I included that, but I know, is it like 85% of cases involving crimes of any types, like theft and damage to property, other things. A lot of stuff involves actually needing to go and forensically analyze or look at someone's phone or their devices. And now having to add on to this, it just adds to the further impending backlog that the police seem to have. And again, beyond the technical challenges with deepfakes, there's socioeconomic implications that can be happening because of like a deepfake scam. It could be financial losses for individuals, damage to reputation. Politically, they're weaponized for disinformation, manipulate public opinion. Like again, you've got certain world leaders who share really stupid deepfakes of things, and people don't know it's satire, and that's the problem with a lot of the things. Or people share videos or media of people and they don't realize that it's someone being manipulated, or there's an array of things. But again, there's so many different sort of effects that people don't consider. On a personal level, there could be damage to reputation, emotional distress, falsified content of people harassing people and stuff. And again, in terms of like the forensics, the police, the sort of let's say the society and the sector, there's just so many different ways and so many different avenues where you might have to then help someone prove or disprove that it's been faked or not faked. So yeah, I'd say the key thing for why the deepfakes have got so good, or why they're really hard to detect, or they're really realistic, is the sort of the backbone of them. So generative adversarial networks, or GANs, they've been kind of kicking about since about 2017, or they've got better since then. There's so many different detectors and things that you could use. At the core of it, it basically is machine learning models where they play against themselves. You've got neural networks. You can see it better here. You've got a generator and you've got a discriminator, and basically they make a realistic thing and they base it off samples, and they basically keep competing against each other to be more correct, as in detecting something real or making something real. And that's kind of the problem, is they're just getting better at making content that's more believable. Um, Again, it's got benefits, it's got useful things, but the problem is that a lot of people are misusing it. So this report, the deepfake trends, this was written by Deeptrace in 2019. This was probably following, again, so deepfake creation becoming a bit popular. This is obviously 7 years ago, but at the time they produced some statistics where they said, and I didn't write it on the slide, I realized, but 97% of all of the deepfake videos that were online at that time were non-consensual pornography. Some were fraud, some was misinformation, and then there was some satire. And at the time, people were arguing, saying, like, I don't see the benefits of this, because it seems to just be a lot of people misusing it or mistreating people, and I don't see the other uses. In 2025, the Crime and Policing Bill aimed to crack down on explicit deepfakes. I'll talk a bit more about some legal stuff in a few slides, but they tried to crack down on it, and then they actually didn't do much in that direction. Another report, so Europol in 2022, I think also Interpol did a similar report also in the same year. They have done really in-depth studies where they're basically talking about all of the different ways that deepfake technology could facilitate criminal activity. So I've mentioned before about, harassing people, committing crimes, non-consensual pornography, stuff like that. Document fraud makes up a lot of it. So using someone's likeness to create false identifications, or taking information about someone and then using that to then create fake personas. Again, we're seeing exploitation, so online child exploitation, again, falsifying evidence, trying to manipulate and disrupt markets, supporting narratives of extremist or terrorist groups, stroking social unrest and political polarization. The UK government have done a lot of work in the last year researching that. I submitted some evidence myself, and they were basically saying, are the AI algorithms and are the social media platforms fanning the social unrest? And my answer was yes. And I sort of explained how they were doing it. And that's part of the problem, is the social media, or the creators of a lot of these deepfakes or these tools, they need to be being more aware of what people are doing with it. I've just got some statistics here as well from Statistica. This was from a fraud report in 2023. I liked their infographic, but again, the AI deepfake thing, there's a lot of cases with fraud globally. Again, voice impersonation, deepfake videos, fake romance profiles, scams, phishing emails and stuff. Like they're so realistic, and particularly for like on like Snapchat and other social media platforms, there's even been a rise of people like jumping on like K-pop demon hunter phases and stuff, and people thinking they're buying tickets for something, or they think they're talking to people in like fan groups and stuff. So the amount of different types of use cases and different cases that might involve some form of manipulated media leading on to something else, it's just there's just so many. I mentioned before about the Police and Criminal Act, or the Police and Crime Act, but the Online Safety Act in 2023 literally didn't do much about deepfake and sharing real and deepfake images, and they didn't actually have criminal liability on, if people created them or sent them. 2025, the UK government tried to then update this, and then again, Grok AI and all that stuff has led to it. So they actually are trying to fix things about it. But again, it's like, I think if something has a legitimate use, people think, oh, well, people won't want to create these things of, people being manipulated and exploited and harassed and stuff. And actually they do. So the legislation needs to get better at holding people accountable. I've just got some examples of screenshots here as well. So this one is, again, a UK report, and it was talking about how, again, it seems to be women, violence against women, violence against younger people. Literally, I've got news reports going back for years, especially, again, since the influx of deepfakes in 2017, 2018, where people are saying, like, we need to do something about this. We need to fix the legislation. And it doesn't seem to, well, it's helping and happening more now. But again, until the Grok AI literally affected the world, people were like, okay, we need to actually do something a bit more efficient. Again, this report says like deepfakes are the most dangerous crime of the future. I think it's because the amount of use cases of crimes and things that can happen linked to it just makes it more dangerous. The rise in online fraud as well, like people being scammed, people being targeted, manipulated, the lack of authentication on a lot of with a lot of companies. Like there's been cases of people being manipulated into giving up certain information. But like literally people can play, like there's a lot of online banks where you just need like a verification code and stuff, or you just need your voice, and a lot of the authentication mechanisms that a lot of companies might use, they don't work anymore because people have cloned someone's voice or taken their information. And yeah, just like some more examples. So here again, being able to use ChatGPT or other social media platforms to generate images of people being abused and other things. So yeah, the rise of non-consensual media. I have some of these slides from a few weeks ago, and again, then Grok and AI happened, but again, it's been happening for a long time. The FBI actually talked about it in quite a lot of detail. They were saying in 2022 and 2023, there was like over a 300% increase of sextortion cases of maybe like AI real images. There was cases of them targeting like teenagers, or like people sharing malicious photos and videos of people online, and like teens being tricked into either thinking their friend said something or they did something. So yeah, again, it should be hopefully illegal. This is from 2023. For those who don't realize, deepfakes actually go back to how they all started getting how they all started trending. It was all going back to like a Reddit forum where basically someone started posting like, oh, look at this cool deepfake I made of this celebrity, and it all sort of spiraled from there. As I said, though, literally a few days ago, I was like, I should update these slides because, yeah, Grok AI, they can generate sexual deepfake images. There was an even wider array of things that they could get the AI to do with this. And there was a good few days there where Elon Musk was saying, we're not doing anything about it, or he was saying he has seen no evidence of it. And then, yeah, you could undress people. Even people might say, I don't give consent. And then you could then still get the AI to do it. So I think he's finally listening and is supposedly trying to fix it. Because I think as well, they fixed it, but it just meant that only premium users could use certain commands and certain features. So not good. Another example of just while we're on the thought of Elon Musk is California. They actually were very good and quite ahead of the curve on their deepfake legislation. And in 2019, the governor actually signed this bill into law. So the AB 730, is it called? Signed this thing into law, and they basically said, like, yeah, we want to help people being able to go to a social media platform and that they could remove or label deceptive or digitally altered content. So again, before Elon Musk bought Twitter, it used to say like you'd have like a tag that basically said like this might be deepfake, or this is a parody, or this is, maybe you want to check your sources because this is probably like a made up thing, and they don't do that anymore. But again, I thought California law bringing this in, that was very good, 2024. However, then basically someone who made a malicious video of Kamala Harris, there was a parody video that was released during her campaign. One of the other things with the California law was that you couldn't create or release like politically based ones, like in someone's election campaign. And actually then, so with Elon Musk's help, there was a court case just a few months ago, so May 2025, and basically Elon Musk helped represent that guy, and they tried to argue that basically you're infringing upon someone's freedom of speech or their right to do what they want to do online. So that kind of hindered and took back some of the US progression. They did bring in, though, I think just before the whole Grok thing, a thing called the Take It Down Act or law. That's pending. That's something that they're trying to do. So they are sent for cases of explicitly like explicit deepfakes or certain things, they're saying, yeah, okay, we could try to get that taken down. But again, the time frame that it takes for those things to be taken seriously, it doesn't seem to be working. And then, yeah, I've just got other slides. So South Korea, 682 people for deepfake sex crimes, Interpol collaboration. It's a global thing, and that's the thing. There's so many cases, social engineering, employees being tricked into transferring money. And there's even been cases of criminals using deepfakes to video for remote work, or online like fake avatars of people being made. So I think we're all guilty of it. We all have way too much information on LinkedIn, but like fake online profiles being made of people with endorsements and stuff, and then going for jobs, and then it's like a malicious actor trying to get company information, or maybe hiring younger people to do a job that doesn't exist and stuff as well. So yeah, it's a global effort trying to demystify deepfakes. I think I've got a lot of different topics in this presentation, but it's something that I'm very interested in personally, more in terms of the detection models, how it affects the police and stuff, and also like what are people doing to try and help. So among this, you've got Microsoft. They've got their Origin project, their Project Origin, and they're trying to help with content provenance. So they're basically trying to help people like embed digital fingerprints. So like watermarking and some form of footprint. So if you then say like upload media or you interact with some other media, then it would be easier for someone to verify like it's real or if it's been modified and stuff. They've got some useful legislation for like businesses and things. You've also got the Trusted News Initiative. It's more of a global thing, kind of like BBC, Microsoft, Google, Reuters. They're trying to sort of help combat disinformation. I quite like this because you'll read some news stories and then a few days later they'll go, okay, here's actually what happened. It takes some time though. Again, pre Elon Musk with X and pre like Facebook about 2 years ago, you used to be able to verify like news things. It might say like, oh, here's the sources, or it might say the news sources for this are a bit questionable, and then you could then see something, be presented with something, and then, then know to question it. Again, I personally do that anyway, but a lot of people don't. And then again, in the UK in 2024, they created the Deepfake Detection Challenge. So the Home Office, the Department of Science, Innovation, Technology, I think I've missed the word there, and the Alan Turing Institute, they all sort of did like a deepfake planning initiative. They had like academia, industry and stuff. I actually missed this, which is very annoying, but it looked good because they're getting the right people talking. They're trying to get like the legal legislation. They're trying to get police. They're trying to get researchers, academia, all trying to figure out like what can we do to try to help, with these things. I'd say public awareness is definitely important. And then also using things like DeepSafe is an interesting tool that was open source, but now I think you can pay for like a better version of it. Sensitivity AI, Microsoft Authenticator, they offer some features for certain tools in certain medias. But yeah, it's a global effort. So just for anyone who's not fully aware, I'm going to go over a lot of the features and techniques of deepfakes. So a lot of the ones that people might see online, it could be a form of head puppetry. So a video of someone moving their head or making an expression, and then like someone else's face is put over it, as we can see here. And then it just means like, sometimes you can tell by the movement, but other times you don't realize. There was a study done where it basically said, I'll put the link at the end because I can't remember the name of the author, but they basically said the more familiar someone is with deepfake, the less likely they are to always accurately detect a deepfake. It's like this false sense of security that people have. And actually, I've done a lot of student projects where we've made deepfakes. We've got people to do like a think aloud study, use certain tools, and then we're trying to help them determine if it's fake or not. And it seems to be that if someone just goes, that doesn't sound like something that celebrity would say, or I've seen this film, that doesn't look like it should, they think to question it. But if it's something that they don't really recognize, they might just look at it initially and go, yeah, that's real. They're not fully sure. And one of the other techniques with this is lip syncing and expression swapping. So you start off with the base, and again, it could be like an overlay where someone then changes it. You might take someone's base expression and then you might make them seem really happy or seem really sad. And you can do this with like, I know, like Snapchat and other sort of like social media tools that people use. They do that as well. And then because sometimes you're like, why does that not quite look right? And it's because they're like changing what they're doing. Um, Also, you can have face swap where you literally just take someone else's face and swap it, and then you use something with it. There's been a lot of online fraud cases where people have taken like celebrities or like TikTokers or like, online people, and they've used their video and their likeness to sell a product where they've just basically put someone else's face over it, or they've, got them to say something else like, oh, hey, buy this stupid tea that makes you, do something. And then people will go, oh, yeah, I'll buy that because it looks, or it's in the format, or it basically gets on like someone that they follow online. But then a lot of the time it's via targeted advertising. And other things they do as well is like key features, face synthesis, where basically you can start with a face and then you can kind of make different variations of it. You can ask AI, or you can use certain tools where it says like add a fake mustache, swap the expression, swap their identity or whatever. So again, you can change it and merge it. And again, people use this for like identity fraud, document fraud, other things as well, to maybe make different identities or different likenesses. I'd say, and another thing as well mentioned is audio-based methods. So you can literally have apps or use tools where someone takes someone's likeness and then they just make it sound like they've said something else, or they've made it sound like someone else is speaking the words. And again, you can inject things or change things and mix it up. And again, like a lot of the time, people might just hear something or they'll hear an audio thing and they'll think it's real. So then you're then going to have to prove that someone has changed it, or you try to look for some form of editing or auditing, or again, it could just be someone going, that doesn't seem like something they'd say. Again, if you don't question it right away, you'd have to go through and prove that it is in fact fake. And again, it's just something else that you have to do. It's another level of analysis. So yeah, just kind of like tying up a lot of the different techniques that you have. There's a new term for it, fraud as a service, or AI enabled fraud as a service. So again, face swapping, face synthesis, attribute distribution, face morphing. But there's even been a lot of cases of video injection where like it seems like online avatars are like giving presentations, or they're impersonating someone else, or they're making it appear the background's fake or the thing's fake, and they're like, oh, it's my internet signals, it's not very good. So yeah, there's many different avenues for this. I've included a link here actually because there's a really good online article kind of talking about all of the above. So yeah, basically why I'm kind of interested is because there's not as much stuff on deepfake forensics. There's not as much, well, there's a lot of literature on someone saying, hey, I've made a deepfake detector. But there's not a lot of like people looking at it all sort of connected and in practice. So, deepfake forensics is basically looking at detecting, analyzing, and understanding basically how these different types of media could be manipulated, and then trying to work out the best and most efficient way to prove that. So it involves like computer science, digital forensics, machine learning, multimedia analysis, and again, you're trying to basically verify if something's been artificially generated or manipulated, and not always with AI. It could be manipulated in other ways. At the core of this is obviously multimedia forensics. So, because people always say like, oh, just go to file verification or just find the source file and stuff. But, there are a lot of challenges with that as well. So trying to determine the origin of the data or of the file or of the thing that everyone seems to be sharing, you have to figure out where it came from, where was it captured, do we know what device it was, where did it start, is the person in the image or in the video, are they real, are they a victim, or like what is the context? And then we're trying to then verify the integrity of the file. Are there cases of or evidence of tampering? Has it been altered? Is it processed? Has it been manipulated? Is there editing that then sort of messes up the time frame and we're not fully sure? And it just seems to be it again, it adds to this more time consuming thing that we would need to do. So that's basically what I've been interested in personally. Some indicators that you would look for when you're trying to detect deepfakes though as well, and things that might try to help speed it up, is a lot of the time it could be unnatural backgrounds. So, depending on the tool that they've used and depending on if it's been compressed a lot or not, sometimes it just doesn't quite look right or the background doesn't quite fit. The facial expressions could vary. The subtle inconsistencies of like, I don't know, when they're talking, it just doesn't quite look right. It could look unnatural. Sometimes we'll make someone kind of go, that doesn't quite look right. I'm not sure. Other times they just think, oh, it's probably like bad quality. But again, unless it's something quite like outlandish been said, people sometimes go, all right, yeah, that's a video or whatever. Other things, audio inconsistencies. It could be like the movement doesn't quite match. The sound quality might not be the best. A lot of the time, someone might think, I think I've seen that before, or they'll just quickly take whatever the thing is and do like a Google image search, and they'll realize like it's a stock photo, or like the background or something about it looks familiar, and you'll go, hold on, that's like a version of something else that I've seen. And then again, you might have like inconsistent lighting, shadows, reflections. As I say, the maths isn't mathing. It just, you go, it doesn't quite look right. This is a photo AMP Authenticate use when they're trying to show like you've got like different inconsistencies and stuff. I've never been able to create one just like that is so obvious, but that's a good helpful demonstration. And also then sometimes like the image search itself, it might point to something else. It might tell you based on the tools, like the aspect ratio is a bit off, or the size and the resolution doesn't quite match what they expect for something of that size. Or again, there's like the EXIF information, so information that should be present in the file is missing. So a lot of these sort of add to helping determine, if something's fake, deep fake or not. But as I said, at its core, you want to be looking at the format and the metadata. You want to be looking for proof of, EXIF data that's either missing or not. If you can prove like if the thing was taken on a phone or not, if it's just been downloaded from online. So basically, sometimes the presence or lack of information or inconsistency of information kind of helps. The scene in physics, just looking at the reflections, are there strange limbs? Is there inconsistent motion dynamics? Like what's going on? Does it just not quite look right? Videos are sometimes easier to see, when it doesn't quite work out. There needs to be more, I'd say more focus on context. So, who created the content, when was it uploaded, how did it spread, or looking at like the context of the video or the media as well, and being aware of like the different ways that someone could create or fabricate or change things. Like sometimes I'll just look at something and I'll go, oh, that was made in whatever app, because you can kind of tell. And looking for other things as well. So signal-based forensic tools. So compression, artifacts, inconsistencies in lighting, adding or removing things from a photo sometimes then does like error level stuff in the background. So you can kind of look at it in that way. But yeah, I've just put some of these as an example on the table. But yeah, there's different things that you can look at. So like if you're splicing or like inpainting artifacts, there would be some sort of noise and things that you could try to identify. So looking at different approaches for this kind of helps as well. But I'd say at the core of it, you want sort of like file integrity and authentication. But I'd say the problem with this is a lot of the deepfakes and a lot of the malicious ones going about, they're all shared on social media. So social media obviously strips a lot of the information. So you're then trying to work backwards and try to figure out the best way to try to get to the original file. But as I said, there are some tools and techniques and things that you can use as well. So I think I mentioned AMP Authenticate already. There's some Celebrite has some features. I think a lot of forensic tools have some form of plugin. There's ones that literally say alone that they're like a proper forensic deepfake tool, but again, they all have not limited, but they have mixed and varying results. In terms of law enforcement, though, there seems to be a knowledge gap within the policing communities. There's still some police officers and forensic analysts who are unaware of how easy it is to make the deepfake media. It's not the case with all, but the time or the lack of awareness and then the time taken to respond and try to figure things out, it's challenging. I know in the EU they have the thing called the four eyes principle, where if it's like a deepfake or AI piece of media, that at least two people, like two sets of eyes, need to be looking at it and discussing it because you want to make sure you've been thorough enough. There's issues with the terms of resources, so budget and access to the tools. A lot of policing infrastructures don't have the capacity to have these other tools and stuff. I've done some public engagement with different police forces and stuff as well, and a lot of them are saying that it needs to be like a properly verified tool, that has reproducible results and stuff. And again, that's a lot of the work in this area is quite open source and research based. There's also associated time constraints, so labor intensive, the additional scrutiny, the cross verification can reduce operational efficiency in a sector where sometimes you want a quicker turnaround and you don't want to have to keep, having to spend a lot of time verifying things. So again, this verification process, it can become more time intensive, and what took minutes now takes a few hours, or it could take even more. Like here at Liverpool John Moores in the engineering department, we have specialists in audio and video forensics. Like that is literally, they teach that, they have a master's in it. It's so good, but they specialize in that and they're like so good at it. So sometimes we'll get people asking me, and I'm good at like figuring out based on like images and stuff, but sometimes I might ask them and be like, okay, thoughts. But again, if you get surveillance footage of a suspect at a crime scene, now basically you might have to try to process it, and you have to be careful with your words as well about how you're trying to build and present how it's faked or manipulated or changed. There was a case in America where basically, well, two cases. There was one case in America where the defense used CCTV footage of something happening, and they used AI to make it clearer to see. And then the judge right away decided that they didn't want to include that because it was AI enhanced. And their argument was, you've like the video is not true anymore, or you've changed the likeness of it. And then there was another case where there was another case where there was a CCTV presented to a witness of him committing a crime, and he argued it was fake news, and he argued, no, I didn't do it, it's not real. And I think in that case, and I can't think of the name of it, but in that case, they then just started interviewing people and asked like, oh, can you verify you were there and you saw this? Really, they probably should have then just got someone to analyze the media and prove, yeah, that's real. That's like proper CCTV footage, and the timestamp and everything's legit. Like but two different ways where they just went, oh, you've enhanced it. Nope, it's fake. It's out, even though it wasn't. But technically, they're right. And then in the other case where someone could argue and say, no, it's fake. There's also a thing called imposter bias, where again, people just believe things they see online. They just assume it's fake, or then people the other way blindly trust everything that they see. So that's something else that they're having to contend with. And again, deepfakes, when they go viral or a lot of these things shared online, they're shared, they're downloaded, they're re-uploaded. It's harder to trace their original source or verify the authenticity, as I said, because often the metadata is removed. Again, verifying authenticity of a video presented as evidence. As I've said, it can differ in criminal versus civil courts. Again, this is something else that they're trying to figure out. How can a voice recording be trusted in a courtroom? Ongoing issues. Again, I'd say look it up after, but there's cases of, again, a lot of cases, I think, of these would be in civil courts where someone's played audio or they've committed a crime because they've said, oh, I got sent this thing of someone saying something or doing something. And then it turns out that that was fake as well. So sometimes it's crimes occurring because of deepfakes is also something people don't think about. And as I said, the deepfake defense, so a party arguing or basically saying that whatever is being presented against them is fake, and then having to then go into this extra level of sort of trying to prove its authenticity. So cross-checking stuff. There's also cases where someone might say, right, well, give me your phones and things, and you might try to get someone to prove that they haven't created it. It's a whole thing, but yeah, this is kind of like what they're all trying to sort of contend with at the moment. Yeah, another thing worth mentioning is, so while we've got all this going on, we've got people making deepfakes again. Some are legit, some are just, parodies, entertainment. Then you've got people out there, good researchers trying to make deepfake detectors, or people trying to help people basically just understand and identify fake media a bit better. But then you've got people outline and they're trying to poison the training data with bad samples. So detectors being trained on fake images, then wrongly then identifying something as real when it's fake, and vice versa. And again, or then someone then trying to like reverse engineer a model and then trying to trick the detector that way. There's also tools or approaches where basically people will then use timestamping approaches where they change timestamps or they try to obscure the information to try to then confuse people based on what's happened, or AI slap. I think I don't know if I mentioned that before, but AI slap or like AI media then being fed into things that then just confuses the detectors, increases the false positives. And again, just more things online being sort of AI, but not fully AI, then just make people assume whatever they see online is probably AI. But yeah, at the core of this as well, a lot of these detection algorithms is there is some really interesting work out there, and there's just too many to name. But there's so many like detectors out there that are trying to detect deepfakes or trying to help people determine if something's real or not real. But the problem then is when you apply it in a real world scenario, the performance is inconsistent or it doesn't really work on things that they haven't put into their conditions. Again, so some of them are like monomodal, so like images only or video or audio. A lot of them don't seem to be multimodal, and it seems to be a lot of the ones that are harder to detect. They're like more complicated videos and things. Or they might only look at a certain type. Like I've done a lot of tests online where I've got some examples at the end, but like some of the online detectors, you'll try to upload media and it goes, oh no, sorry, we don't do that file size. And you're like, okay. And then you put something else up and it's like, oh no, we can't take that. So even then, some of the ones that preach really good results only seem to work on quite small, narrow sort of features or data sets. And then the more generalized ones, they're just trying to create more generalized ones. Then the more information you put out there about like, oh, this is how we're detecting these fake things or these AI fabrications, then obviously then people then might use that to make their deepfakes like more realistic. Again, there's issues with the data sets, the things that are trained for them as well. There's a lot of stuff, a lack of diversity in a lot of subjects. So I've done some tests where I've used people's of like different genders and ages, lighting backgrounds. I've used different manipulation techniques and stuff. And again, I've made them myself. And then I've ran them through certain tools and it's gone, yeah, these are real. I'm like, they're not real. Or, vice versa, as I said. And then again, a lot of the data sets are created in controlled environments, but they don't then work in practice. There's also some cases of overfitting where like certain things work better on others. Again, there's deepfake video detection software out there. I'll not mention specific ones, but there's ones where they say they work really well with videos. And then if you try to do it with a video, they then take a screen grab of a video. And I'm like, that's just a picture then. So for some of them, you have to narrow it down into certain things and look at it individually, and it doesn't seem to work in practice. Other challenges for the area, though, again, say more sort of related to sort of the forensics issue, is the lack of standardization and evaluation metrics. So there's no universal standard for evaluating detection models. Some models say, yeah, it's fake or it's real. And you're like, okay. Or they say, you've got a 60% chance of something, or they say something else. And you're like, I don't know what that means in the grand scheme of things. Some work better if it's a clearer picture, other ones don't. Social media platforms compress things or depend on where it's been taken from. And again, the more realistic things become, the harder it is to detect things as well. So sort of within this area, I would say it's a multi-pronged approach. No single solution is efficient, annoyingly. There are tools that I will use in my teaching that I quite like, but I have mentioned many times that I still get inconsistent results. So it's annoying. So you would generally say, like, I think just keep getting better, keep trying to do research, keep trying to figure it out. Automated tools with human expertise is obviously very important. So like anytime I've ran any tests or I've done some experiments, I generally will start off and I know the results because I've obviously made them or I've modified them in certain ways. And then I'll look at how they either agree or disagree with what I've put in, or then it sort of helped me realize, okay, things that they need to know. Like even just like we had like a range of pictures where it was like going in and just like slightly adding and removing things from the pictures. And I remember editing one, and then I did it using like Paint or like some just an openly available tool. And then it said, okay, this now you've used AI to edit this. This is part of the content provenation thing, C2PA. But then when I ran it through the forensic tool, it didn't pick it up. And then I tried to look at the hex data, and there was nothing embedded that said that AI edited it, even though I know I did. So then I had to go look at error level and kind of see the slight blurs because I knew I'd removed something, but it took ages to prove that I knew that it was fake. And on from that as well. So like legal and ethical considerations as well. So, under forensic and investigative contexts, it seems to be evidence has to be, it has to be able to be scrutinized in a court of law, or you need to be able to explain how you got to those results. And that's the thing is sometimes you go, yeah, that's the result. And then if the other forensic team or if someone else literally takes the images that you've got and runs it through either the same tools or similar tools, they might not get the same results. And that's a problem because you need to be able to reproduce it. And again, having a clear chain of custody as well to ensure, basically what you've done is legit and, can be forensically sound. I know people hate the term forensically sound, but again, it's harder to do that when there's no guidance. It's just trial and error and just hoping for the best. So again, just with some tools, generally a lot of the things that work, they look for reference images. So I had the screenshot at the start, but basically sometimes when you have an image or a video or something, the tools will then just say, like they'll point and they might go, I think this is from social media, or some tools might say this might be a stock photo, or they might say this might be compressed, or they might point out maybe think details that are missing, and you'll go like, okay. Other tools say it's real, but real means non-deepfake, as in some tools go it's real, as in it hasn't been edited in AI, but other tools don't distinguish. They don't say like, oh, this hasn't been edited in AI, but it's been edited in these other ways. So again, there needs to be consistency, or they need to document and explain more what they mean with their result. The size of an image can affect accuracy. Again, you might need to rescale and adjust image properties to improve the analysis. Again, you would do that with one that you've created an image of already. You wouldn't want to do that to obviously the actual footage. Authenticate and other tools can create a collage of collected media, and you can kind of batch process them, and you can kind of help then try to improve the algorithm and things to look out for. Also to try to get the tools a bit better at knowing sort of like what indicators or maybe like certain like hex information that maybe some files or some tools might leave. As I said earlier, sometimes the math isn't mathing, and that's just how you kind of know it doesn't quite look right. Pen and paper helps. A ruler, trying to like look and literally circle for intersections and things and how things aren't quite matching up helps. But again, trying to then explain that, and you'll just go like, oh, it's fake, or again, depending on what context you need to be proven that the thing's been modified. The lack of transparency, again, the black box nature of, I know everyone hates the term, but the black box nature of a lot of these algorithms or a lot of these tools, the internal decision making process isn't often interpretable. And again, that's definitely something that we need to fix. I think that was definitely discussed at a lot of the sort of working groups, and a lot of the talk in the community at the moment. So transparency with the models, or sort of the decision process behind it. It sort of just helps then explain the steps of the process, or helps other people follow the same things. So questions over reproducibility, as I said, deepfake detector tools should explain how they got their decision. So, X was suspicious, Y was as well. And again, the same media sometimes might get different results for scores, which is not good. And without a clear understanding of how it got to those decisions, there will be people questioning it as well. So yeah, I think that's definitely important. So explainability, reducibility, and sort of like integrating them in together. So I think people want that. There's some really good research in this area. I've saw some interesting papers on using AI for forensic workflows, or using AI to help explain AI. But again, other types of tools, so like Magnet Verify, they've got this new feature where they're sort of trying to help with like origin of files, file provenance, file manipulation and stuff. And they're then trying to, I think they're creating like a script or something where they're then trying to help people understand and explain kind of the thought process of the workflow a bit better. But I do think all of the above will definitely help in this space. So I think I spoke really fast there, but yeah, just some work that I've been doing in this area, as I said. So I'm really interested in the deepfake media, the fabricated media, the things themselves. At the top here, in 2023, I hosted a workshop where I had police from a few different police DFUs in the country, had some researchers and stuff, and we were trying to look at the different ways to detect deepfakes, looking at some tools and looking at the efficiency and things, and sort of saying like what was missing and kind of like what gaps and stuff. I then gave some written evidence. I think I mentioned at the start, the UK government were like, is AI and social media and the technologies fanning social unrest, and what are they doing? And I was like, they are, yes. So I gave some information on that. So I was interested in that. And then I presented at the Digital Forensics Research Workshop. I did a poster there last year, and I was at the Women in Forensics event, and I was kind of talking about the results from the workshop I did before, and then some of the main points of discussion and sort of like next steps that we had in terms of issues that were sort of ongoing. And just as an example, some of the online tools that people were using, I saw some papers, I saw some student experiments. All of these images are images that I created using this person does not exist, or using other tools. And I ran them through some of the online detectors to basically see if they were real or not. And yeah, like a lot of them they were saying, yep, these are real, 100%, real. I think two of this picture, two were determined fake, and one said it was 51%. And I'm like, I don't know what the 51% meant. Was that real? Was that not real? I don't know. I then ran them through Amped Authenticate. So Amped Authenticate is one of the tools I mentioned, but it's got a GAN detector. So basically it's trying to say, are these images fake, as in have they been generated using AI? And yeah, 50-60% of the things, and there was like a lot of tests that we did, they were like, I'm not sure. I'm like, okay, right. So they weren't sure. All of them, most of them were. I think I did some real ones, some real and fake ones as well. And then yeah, they didn't know, so that was very annoying. But one of the things then I'd noticed from the workshop that I did, and then subsequent other experiments from then, is obviously realistically, the use cases and the different types of things that you might need to be proven being fake or not, they don't always work. I've done stuff where we've literally modified and removed things from a picture, and then ran it through this, and then it's went, no, it's real. And I'm like, or there was one where it zoomed in on a certain part of someone's face, or like something in the background, but it didn't tell me anything about it. It just seemed to leave a mark. So I feel like there is maybe some sort of steps in the right direction. Lastly, though, I launched a deepfake forensic survey last March. So when I was in the digital forensics research workshop, and because there was a lot of police there, a lot of researchers, kind of like a European thing, which was good. And I had just like some preset questions. So one of the things that I'm interested in is you've got like Interpol, you've got Europol, you've got all these reports online saying all these deepfake crimes are happening globally. But actually, I wanted to get information or usable statistics on, okay, how many cases are these happening in? Like, do people know what tools they need to use? Is there like a deepfake guidance in place? Do we have like standards of practice? Like, what's the scenario? So it was a bit of a slow burner, but I think it was, I want to say 60, nearly 60-ish respondents, which was good. And I got a lot of the information. It's available online to download, so it was anonymous. I gathered some information in terms of like demographic, maybe like the place of work, not place of work, what their education was and familiarity with some things. But it was asking like, how often do you, how often do you, see deepfakes or fabricated media in your workplace? Would you know what to do? How familiar are you using tools? One of the questions as well was, does your employer allow AI tools? And I think 60-70% of the respondents said they could, because again, that was something I'd noticed where I think a lot of people online think that the police can't actually use open source tools. A lot of them could actually use stuff. They could just, bring it in or use it as a plugin with certain softwares. So, I think raising awareness on that. The findings of the survey, though, I'm actually presenting at the Digital Forensics Research Workshop EU this year in Sweden, which is great because I wrote it all up. It's basically a paper exploring the practitioner experience, so the challenges, the issues, sort of the gaps in the legislation, standards of practice and stuff, and also then obviously the outputs and the focus from the forensic practitioner side, rather than this is a deepfake tool. It's me like kind of trying to get more analysis and more focus on, as I said, sort of the guidance, legislation, and sort of like next steps on what I think we need to do to try to sort of bridge the gap and fix communication a bit. But yeah, going forward, I do think that there is a growing investigative burden introduced by deepfakes, but I think it'll be like crimes that either involve deepfakes or have deepfakes, or there'll be things that happen because there's been a deepfake or there's been something fake and then someone's done something from it. The deepfake defense that I mentioned before, I think that's been used definitely once or twice in America. And the liar's dividend, again, that's another term that they've used in America, but they're seeing that more so in sort of like legal proceedings. I think more so in civil, but I do think it will go into sort of the criminal cases more. And as I said, if we're taking anything from here, it should be, we need greater consistency and transparency in the forensic practice in terms of the tooling, and also if we were integrating XAI, like explainable AI, that would definitely help. And we need robust standards of practice and workflows, because again, at the core of anything is you want someone else to be able to do the same things that you did and get the same results. And that's something that we don't really have in the area because it's harder to verify the authenticity. Again, unless something's like blatantly fake and you go, yeah, that's fake. Sometimes it's on the fence and then it's harder to say fully like, yep, that's, one way or the other. So yeah, just to conclude, say thank you for listening to my talk. The light in my office keeps going out. As I said, there's going to be more use cases. There's going to be a lot more time spent trying to prove something's deepfake or not. And again, the more we publish and the more we do research and say like, oh, here's how to detect deepfakes or how to avoid malicious entities, then obviously people will use that to then make the detectors not work, or, they might mess with the data sets. So, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But yeah, I do think it's something keeping me very interested. Yeah, and just a little pitch is I have a book coming out this year. Well, it's in press, but I've explored the whole technology, forensic integrity, societal sort of impact of deepfakes and fabricated media and stuff, and just sort of research I've been doing for the last few years. I've decided to write it up. But yeah, I'd say if you have any questions, happy to answer them. If you think of anything after, drop me an email. I like talking. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Anya. The first question I have is from Hamid. Hamid has asked, so what are the most malicious attacks you've seen, in your opinion?
A lot of them, like attacks, as in like someone's made a deepfake and it's made something bad happen. Yeah, I'll go with that. So a lot of the most malicious deepfakes that I've seen are child sex abuse. I haven't seen them personally, but I've been aware of them, or revenge porn, things like that. Malicious attacks, again, that have been launched because of deepfakes could be someone being tricked into doing something or saying something that they shouldn't, or someone being tricked in their workplace and then that leading into something. I mentioned it briefly, but so I'm from Belfast. I should have led with I'm Irish, but I live in England. But in when I was home for Christmas, like 1 year ago, there was a local newspaper had said that there'd been like a rise in romance scams and like other things targeting a lot of people, and there was like millions of pounds lost through people being tricked into giving money to friends and other things, and it was just not very nice. So a lot of it, as well as people prying on people's kindness or manipulating someone into doing other things.
Steph Westbrook made a comment. You would have to be careful for metadata analysis and what information is stored from that.
Yeah, so with the metadata and sort of analysis thing, again, sometimes it's not quite set. There's a lack of information there, or it's harder to quite get sorry, it's harder to see what's happened. Sometimes though, it's quite easy. You can analyze something and it'll say like what tools it's been made with, or it might say this image has been taken from somewhere, or this image was taken using like a Samsung Galaxy phone or something, and then you might then go, okay, well the other person involved has a similar phone. We could request to get access to that as well. So a lot of it's trying to piece together different things. Just to mention, because I saw a question there about authentication and stuff. In the book that I've got coming out, I have a whole section on. I've literally tried to get all of the different hex signatures and all of the different sort of embedded things that you can get from certain editors. I've kind of put that all together. The problem though is a lot of them don't actually have them. So again, it's harder. At the moment, I'd say a lot of them are like you can kind of tell, but some are on the fence, and that just annoys me because I'm pretty sure it's real. I think it's fake. I'm not sure. Obviously, you wouldn't do that like as a um with without the authority, like. But
I think that was Marina's comment on steganographic signatures used for authentication.
The C2PA, so the content, I always say that wrong, content provenance thing. You can embed watermarkers. There's a lot of organizations, and I think Microsoft's got stuff where there's legislation being given to maybe public figures or to a lot of companies, and they're sort of saying you need to be embedding these watermarkers, or there's things you can do with files so that if someone ran it through a certain deepfake detector, it'll skew the results, like a poisoning thing. There's some good researchers, people doing stuff on that.
Yep. Dave Walker's asking on audio, are generators of fake content able to defeat um, presentations yet? And a URL, a Usenix URL.
Yeah. Oh, for audio.
Yeah.
So yeah, some is he saying can deepfake detectors detect audio?
Yeah, I think that's what I was asking. Yeah.
Oh, AMP to authenticate, they have an
Yeah.
audio module. Yeah, there's like specific ones you can use. As I said, in my department, you've got Dr. Carl, not my department, sorry, at my uni in engineering, Dr. Carl Jones and Colin Robinson. They do audio and video, no, audio and video stuff. So they break it down frame by frame and they look at all of that stuff there. They actually did a lot of stuff with like the local police on trying to do that. So I think a lot of the things that they can do, it's not publicly out there as much because again, I know they've said like they're getting better at detecting things, but you don't want everything literally to be so publicly available.
Yeah. There's been some discussion about a Hong Kong bank fraud in
Oh yeah,
2024. There's a link. I think there's
there's
a link somewhere to that in the
I just
thread.
saw it there. There's the Hong Kong bank fraud. I don't know if that was a group. There's a good few cases. There's at least two or three fraud cases of someone, and they do that. They pry on the urgency of it, like, hey, I really need you to do that thing really quickly. or could you get that for me, blah blah blah, could you just confirm? There's a their meme online, and it's called a silly goose, and it's someone being a silly goose and asking really silly questions that then people might answer and then inadvertently give away too much details. But yeah, there's like so many cases. I had too many screenshots already. I was gonna put some of the other fraud ones in as well, but yeah, there's just a lot. And again, my problem, or not my problem, my interest is like when I've collaborated with like the Merseyside Police, North Wales Police, some European uh, police agencies, and I'm like, what tools do people use and what's the approach? And they're like, it depends. You kind of hope you don't have to have a big enough case that you need to be doing this. I didn't mention, but there's been cases of, again, I think I said like indecent images of children and stuff, but they're trying to come up with techniques to quickly identify if that is an actual child being victimized or if that's like an AI generated of someone's likeness. So that's a whole other research area that people are trying to quickly improve. And I'm hoping the legislation, because of Grok AI, will actually help people get it taken down quicker as well.
Yeah, Marina has asked, given that detection will probably never win the arms race with the GANs, what do you see for the future? Certificates for everything? Question mark.
Yeah, I think depending on what it is, I think some certificates and sort of provenance things that you can embed in will really, really help. But separate to that, people are more public awareness. I know Ofcom, again, I'm just talking about me. There's somebody in media, Professor Frances Yeoman, and she does a lot of stuff with media literacy on, for them, I think it was like certain things to do with technology. But I've been chatting with her recently, and I was saying about how because I kind of help specialize in deepfakes, AI forensics and stuff, and it's more about like literacy of people online. Like if anyone watched that TV show, Adolescence, that was on Netflix, it was very good, but on that, it was like these people are like young children, sorry, and it's like they just think everything's fake online, or they just don't believe stuff if it doesn't align with what they want. And it's trying to educate people. Like when I was growing up in school, it used to be your teacher would shout at you, you know, cite your sources. Where have you got this? Where have you done this? And I have students saying, "Oh, I read this thing online," and I'm like, "Where did you see it?" And they go, "TikTok," or "It was an Instagram story," and I'm like, "Okay." But so getting people to try to verify things or to ask questions and do that. But yeah, I think more organizations talking definitely wouldn't help, or sorry, wouldn't be a bad thing.
Dave Walker's made a couple of comments on reflection analysis, the URL, and the link to the Hong Kong fraud story.
Oh, good.
Um,
Uh, the the perfect lens thing. There there are some deepfake tools, and they, if I've understood that right, there's ones and it's deepfake videos, and they try to blink. They try to mimic people skin movement. I try to not talk with my hands, but I realize I talk with my hands a lot. So for me, it would be like mimicking playing with pens and stuff. But for them, like I think someone else had one about like live interviews, and yeah, sometimes it's like a deep fake where someone might go on to an interview and they'll go, because I've been on interview panels, like I've been on it, like I knew the person and they've went, my signal's not the best, and I'm like, okay, and it's someone there and it's a bit blocky and it doesn't seem quite right, but I know them. And then I'm straight away people say like you could just start by going, oh, my internet's not the best, and you're like, all right. Like I've also had, and I know people who've had interviews where they're asking people questions if it's an online interview they've requested, but they're using AI to interpret your questions and then try to answer back, and you're like, I don't know. So people even do that. I'm just a naturally suspicious person, is the answer.
Marina asked us how close are criminals getting to be able to create live deepfake video? Possible use case, use recording of meeting to train AI to impersonate one of the participants in a new meeting in order to scam one of the other original meeting attendees.
It depends on the money, the tool. It seems to be with most things, it's if they're paying for a better platform, then they're probably going to get it. Um, I've actually used because I'm gonna email, I need to email that person back. I've used this year, it's like a games company and they do like gamification of cybersecurity, and they do like attack life cycles and stuff. And I just used them this year to I have a module that has like cyber students, it's got forensic students, and then computer science students who pick it's a network defense module. And I interacted with them to basically create like a separate thing they could do in their spare time. You could go through, do some threat hunting, stuff like that. But in order to create it, I needed to give context to the company. I needed to give audio. I needed to do certain things. And I was vague. I gave some examples of people. I gave some profiles. I wouldn't give audio. I wouldn't give video. They still made it, and they had to like do a lot of it with stock photos, and it was really, really good. And my boss was like, "Why did you do that?" And I went, "Because even though I know it's real, in the back of my mind, I was going, I hope we're not being scammed." And we weren't, and it was real. But I don't like, again, sometimes if you have a lot of those things, that's why a lot of celebrities and a lot of people online seem to have videos and things made that then people might use. In the educational video that we'd used, one of them was a CEO or someone asking questions about someone, asking them, "Oh, could you do this? Oh, by the way, how's the cat, or how's this?" And trying to break down the barriers and trick people. So sometimes they could have a lot, or they might just know about someone. And again, it's about being aware of what you put online.
Yep. Ashok has asked, are social media AI companies responsible for the fraud caused using their tools? Is there any prosecution cases where large sums of money are awarded to parties who have lost money or loss of personal reputation due to such fraud?
So the
Case law, I guess, is in a
yeah,
sense.
well, I think it was online. What do you call it? It's the organization. It's not the police. See, crime agency, National Crime Agency. They published something in December. Again, I don't know why Christmas, catching up on my scrolling, but they published something online, and they said, "Oh, banks now help people get money back if they've been victim of fraud due to romance scams and other things." But I know through a lot of research, I commented on the post on LinkedIn. I don't really do that, but I sort of said, well, that's all well and good, but a lot of the scammers make people pay in cash, or make them buy vouchers and then send codes on, or they do other things. It's not just you transfer someone money from your bank account. But I think if you can prove to your bank, like, I've been scammed or someone's been scammed, I think they're trying to help that. But again, a lot of the platforms don't seem to be held accountable. The thing that I used slides similar to this like last month, and then I've obviously updated them. But like, just Elon Musk seems to be single-handedly trying to ruin media integrity and verification, because his argument for everything in America is, so what? I have the right to create these things and do these things, and the talk, people should be able to do what they want online. And you're like, yes, but people are misusing it. I know someone asked, do I have Blue Sky? I refuse to verify my age, so I think I have it. I just can't get into my messages. But I think with Grok AI and other AIs, people who might go to certain websites to view and do certain things now don't want to give their details to certain platforms, and now they're using more publicly available AI to create things online. But I think, because literally, I think the world has tried to shout at Elon Musk. I think now they're trying to do something. Though again, it annoyed me that last week he just went, well, if you've got a blue tick and you play premium, you can do what you want on my app. And you're like, that's not, you're aware of the problem and you're not helping. You're just like making money off it then. Um, but yeah, so again, I could talk all day. Don't want to keep you. But if anyone else has any questions, drop me an email. As I said, if anyone's interested in the respondents from the police, there was quite a good few responses. A lot of I can't give all the results away because that's in my upcoming paper. But yeah, I think it's a lot of them are aware that it's a problem and something that we need to do. But I think no one quite knows what to do. And again, there's some decent tools out there, but the results are just not consistent. I still use them all though.
Thank you very much, Anya. That's been a brilliant talk, and thank you everyone for the questions. Well, myself and Margaret will send you the customary BCS thank you.
Oh, thank you.
But there's a online access to the library, or whatever the latest thing is. But thank you very much, and thanks again. And
Yeah, no problem.
yep,
Thanks for having me.
hopefully we will catch up in the future. And
Yes,
yep, look
definitely.
forward. Okay, thanks very much, Anya.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you.